Hey everyone, I thought I would do a video about my breastfeeding exhibition. You can hear my kids in the background, so I hope the sound's not too bad. With the breastfeed exhibition being at Bournemouth Uni at the moment, where no one can see it because of coronavirus and self-isolation, I thought it would be beneficial for me to read some of the stories from my breastfeed book. So when I started painting the portraits, I also asked the women involved to write a short account or something that they wanted to say about their breastfeeding journey, all in this book, alongside the paintings. And some of them are so touching, I cry when I read them, even though I've read them and I know what happens. There was a painting called Breastfeed, and the mum's called Hannah and the baby's called Alexander. So I thought I'd read to you what Hannah has to say.
If I'm brutally honest, after feeding my second child exclusively, with him relying solely on me, as much as I adored him and loved how well he took to it, the 2 hourly feeds for over 12 months exhausted me, so much so that with Alexander, the bottles and steriliser had already been purchased and set up in my 6th month of pregnancy. That sounds really negative, but Max hadn't slept a single night and still doesn't 5 years later. I still wonder if it's because he fed so frequently that he didn't get into a pattern. My feelings, however, took a complete turn about 7 months into my pregnancy. Alexander came rushing into the world and was whisked away to a special care unit to be monitored. Whilst I was lying in recovery, my husband visited to ask my permission to let the nurses give Alexander a special formula to keep his sugars up, and although I agreed, I longed for it to be me feeding him. Walking into the dimly lit unit with the beeping of machines and the hushed whispers of nurses caring for the babies, I was led to my newborn. Yes, I have felt the emotion of being handed a screaming, healthy and hungry baby, but to see my fragile baby in that incubator produced an emotion in me I had never felt before. The one thing I could do for him that the nurses couldn't was breastfeed him. Once in my room, I was given a syringe and told to hand express whatever droplets I could over 48 hours. I was pleased I requested a cup rather than a syringe, as from the get-go, my body produced a lot of milk. I got to feed my baby, not from the breast, but through a feeding tube and with my milk. I may have been one of the lucky ones getting my milk in so quickly, but also had some negatives. I got engorged, I was in a lot of pain, my milk dried up and I had to express day and night to bring it back in. I had to express using hand pumps, which my husband may have had launched at him whilst praising me for continuing even though my supply was struggling without the safety net of the hospital ward. From my first kangaroo cuddle, you could see he wanted to feed. Instinct took over and he tried to nuzzle his way down to feed, but the hospital didn't think he would have the coordination yet to feed and breathe at the same time. At 33 weeks, we finally got to let him have his first feed. The day Alexander was allowed to have his feed from me was worth all the pain and hard work. He knew what to do, but unfortunately he tired easily, so that was the start of a routine of expressing, feeding and topping him from a bottle of my milk. We did this until he was strong enough to feed exclusively from me. It also meant that Dad could feed him with my milk from a bottle. He still has both now 18 months on. He is my miracle baby, and this is his first feed.
So she told me that story and showed me the photograph, and from that photograph, a tiny photograph on her phone, I painted the portrait Breastfeed. So what I'm planning to do is over the next few days read more stories from the women in the paintings, show the paintings and the stories behind them. Thanks for listening.